Yay, okay, welcome to this early morning meeting of the Town of Carlisle Board of Selectmen. Reopening a public hearing for the Verizon Eversource. Is it, no, this is a new public.
New hearing.
Sorry, I
New
take it
hearing.
back, that was the last public meeting. I'm opening the public hearing for Verizon Eversource grant of location. And I will read the legal notice that was published in the Carlisle Mosquito on December 13th. Legal notice of the public hearing. The Town of Carlisle Board of Selectmen have scheduled a hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 166, Section 22, on Friday, December 20th, 2019, at 8 a.m. at the Town Hall Park Room, located at 66 Westford Street, Carlisle, Mass. 01741, on the joint petition of Verizon, New England Inc., and Eversource Energy, N-Star Electrical, requesting to locate an electrical transmission line under and across the following public way: Church Street, at the corner of Church Street and the entrance to the Carlisle Public School. Mr. DeCock, would you care to, or Mr. Zock, and/or?
Yes, so Jonathan DeCock, 130 Oak Knoll Road. I know where I live.
This
Yes.
early.
Representing the Energy Task Force. And so this request for a public hearing is because the Board of Selectmen requires a public hearing on trenching underneath a roadway in order to ensure that we're doing the right thing and that the the placement of the wires is proper and that the road will be repaired afterwards. And so, as you guys know, we are working on trying to put in an electric vehicle charging station in the school parking lot prior to the parking lot being paved next summer, so that when we want them in full force in a few years, we will not have to rip up the parking lot. And so EV Make Ready is the program run by Eversource that makes this possible. And they are willing to trench from the existing electric service underneath the roadway across the school to the point where the electric vehicle charging station would be, and do that all at no cost to the town. And so the plans have been going back and forth and continue to go back and forth. Eversource is, I think Eversource is trying to find the most optimal solution for both them and the town long-term. The difficulty that we are currently having is they're not taking into account the time frame that we have with respect to the green communities. And so they're taking their sweet time to come up with a design, not realizing that we have a deadline on this. So the current plan before you is actually, the guy making it was doing it a little quickly. He actually measured the wrong entrance.
I was going to
So it's actually the other entrance, and he did send me an updated diagram, but I didn't feel it was pertinent because you guys knew that already.
Except that I already had a question about this one, so I'm wondering if I would have a similar question to the other one.
Yes.
So my question of this one is, I see this is on a diagonal. I
Yes.
see no reason why it couldn't have been at a perpendicular to the street and come up, if the meters had been here, for instance, which
Yes.
is where I thought they were, but now they're over here, really.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I see no reason why they would have put this at a diagonal when they could have, instead of doing all this trenching to get back to the parking lot.
Yes.
So,
So
are you satisfied, or do you have it on your phone, or
I do actually.
if you don't mind?
Let me.
I'm sorry to be so.
No, that's actually a very good question. So on the other side, it's actually a shorter diagonal. The pole is actually directly across from the center of the exitway.
Oh, okay, so
So-
it's a diagonal one way or the other, because you want to go up.
Or you could do a parallel to the road and then a perpendicular across it.
Or a
so-
diagonal once we get to the parking lot.
Yeah, it's a diagonal across it's actually, there's so little space across the parking lot, it's only going across the one exit from the parking lot.
Yeah,
And that was in the diagram that they presented to last time.
okay. Yeah.
So it could be a diagonal either way. The interesting thing that I found when looking at the plan was I wanted to make sure that it would be possible to route bus traffic past whatever they were trenching, because otherwise, right, we need to be
Right.
careful when we're doing this with respect to the school. So So I think,
trench to the part where the buses are not going around.
right, we want to be able to
That's-
leave enough room for the buses to get past if they're having an open trench there.
Right.
Because the buses come and go early morning, midday, and, you know, when kids get out. And so the logistics of trying to do that during school would be very difficult, I think.
Yeah, but if it's going in the road, from across the road to the corner that is away from where the truck.
Right, then you should be able to do it.
Should be able to do it.
Yeah. So,
So there's that.
so there's that, yep. So it's also interesting, so Eversource, I don't know if it's because they're a utility or they're doing things under certain government rules, but Eversource is the one that actually trenches across the public roadway, and then they hire a subcontractor to take the trench from there across the school parking lot. I don't know why, but that's the way it apparently is done. So.
Okay.
Now, it's interesting because the subcontractor has been extremely forthcoming and very, you know, he's getting me plans like all the time. And when he thought he was in charge of this, I was getting beautiful plans in like, you know, like less than 24-hour turnaround. But I don't get that from Eversource.
Yeah.
So,
I have one other question, and it's not about the trench really. But
okay.
do I recall that the parking with the chargers is not under a solar?
That's correct.
Why is that?
A couple of reasons. So the school committee had actually asked for the parking spaces that we select to be the ones farthest away from the school entrance, so that if people were parking them during the day when school was otherwise in use, that they would be the spaces that were least likely to be used by teachers or staff or parents coming to visit, et cetera. So they didn't want to have conflict between, you know, just regular residents or whatever using that parking spot and filling up the parking lot. So that was one reason.
Okay.
The other reason is it's logistically difficult for us to put them under the solar canopy because we have to worry about where Amoresco is doing what they're doing and where a separate contractor is doing what they're doing. And so coordinating those two contractors to say who's going to put what trench where and what depth of pipe you're going to have through what is difficult. And then the third reason is if you put more of these in, they need to have line of sight between them so that one of them is the communication with the cell tower and the rest communicate to that one. And so if you have poles from the solar canopy in between, you end up with difficulties.
Okay.
So
That's the best reason I've heard. Okay.
yeah, well, I always save the best for last.
Yeah, okay.
And Jonathan, how long, once they start the trenching, how long do they think it'll take to complete it?
So if it was entirely done by the subcontractor,
Yeah.
they think it would be, you know, it's basically a one-day job.
It is.
Yeah.
So
So,
I assume your goal is to try to coordinate it so that Eversource does their part and then the contractor does his or her, and
yeah,
it happens.
it happens fairly quickly. So that's Eversource's job to coordinate that.
I see. Okay.
That's one of the difficulties with this is there's 4 businesses involved, 3 town boards and 1 state agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting them all to agree on what's going to happen has been
Yeah.
Yes.
troubling.
Yeah.
For you.
So,
All right.
You have any questions? I'm sorry for kind of domineering the thing.
so there are a few things that I think you guys should think about. One is the traffic, right? Do they need to close Church Street? And if so, you know, what do we do about that? I think they should have a good plan for that. I haven't seen a plan for that yet. Second thing is the public roadway repair. The possibilities are, you know, they repair it. You make sure that they repair it satisfactorily. Gary does something afterwards, or we somehow figure out how to tie it into the school parking lot paving and so that it's, you know, guaranteed to be nicely repaved after that. So you guys should think about that as well. And then, yes, the diagonal across there is another thing to think about if you want to specify anything, you know, with respect to how that should work. If you give me a moment, I'll find it on my phone.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming it should come to the to the corner that is furthest away from the one where people are turning right out of the parking lot because of the nature of the one-way.
The east side,
The
right?
east side.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we can do is instead of closing church altogether is we could make it 2-way for a little ways from the school parking lot.
Or they usually go back out.
Yeah.
So they can go back out, except that we still need to get the buses.
Yes, they have
And
to
I'm
make
not
the
sure
turn.
they can make that turn.
Right.
So they, except for buses,
Unless they
Um,
go out the way they would come in. They don't use that exit at all.
except I don't know how to get out that way. Except they'd have.
Well, they'd have to go around and back through the parking lot.
That's-
and then-
It would be tight
That's
turn.
right. That's still a very tight, well,
Yeah,
it's a left
especially if their
turn.
car is parked.
There's the picture.
But that's something we can let the police figure out again.
Yeah, that's how I would do it, certainly, because these are where, so it's going across
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
This is where the meters are.
Right.
So that should
That
be
makes
like a
sense.
slam dunk, basically.
Yeah.
And I can't see that the bus couldn't, I mean, that is.
The bus should be able to make it
Exactly,
past that, I think.
There's-
So, and the subcontractors said they'll coordinate with the school to make sure that if they have equipment in the way, that it gets moved out of the way before the buses need to come through. They've been very, very happy to work with us no matter what we need.
Yeah.
Right.
So, let's see. So we thought of the traffic and the bond and the
Yeah, definitely
location.
Bond is by policy. They
Yeah,
have to
so,
do bond.
yeah, however you want to describe that they have to provide some assurance, because I think they talked to you, Tim, right, about the
Yeah.
details?
Yeah, they did. They did. I asked them to talk to Gary whether it's a bond or they agree to deposit cash in a passbook account that.
Whatever,
They've got
but by
just
policy, we have
agreement with the
this, and I wanted
DPW
to-
superintendent on a restoration plan and the
It-
value of
Exactly.
that they need to put up. That should be part of the motion, yeah.
We have not eliminated that policy yet. We've been reviewing our policy. It has been our policy for many years. It has not been always enforced, and I would expect this to be enforced from
Yeah, yeah.
always. So.
And it could be contingent upon
so-
consulting with the chief on the need
Exactly.
for detail as well.
and- Yeah,
And they can decide whether they need a detail and
right,
you don't
Yeah.
have to figure it out.
right. Okay.
Was there anything else?
No, that's the big things for you guys. The school has more things to consider, but, so,
And, I just would also remind the school that it's not town residents who are gonna park their car there all day.
no, I know. It's the
going
teachers.
to be their staff that are
Yeah.
gonna use on those spots, so.
Yeah, they're aware of that.
Okay, so if it weren't for
And-
the line of sight thing, I would
Yeah.
have argued very strenuously against that placement, but.
Well, personally, I was hoping for a solar canopy above these too, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's, Amoresco has just decided not to do it, and that's a function of the trees are too close on the eastern
That's fine.
side,
All
so,
those are,
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
People will get to park there during town meeting.
Yes, well, or I mean, in an emergency for some reason, if I lose power or something at
Yes.
home, I might consider coming.
Right.
Right.
But, because she and I are both like car owners, and
Yes,
I just would never charge it here unless I were staying, there for some reason.
Yeah, you don't, it's not a big consumer of kilowatts going from your house to school.
Correct.
yeah, but there are,
With the recharging, you might end up with more miles.
Yeah.
there are 4 vehicles that I see regularly parked in the school lot who could take advantage of it.
I mean,
So-
my son lives in a condo, he has an electric vehicle, and there's no place for him to charge it at his condo, because, so he was renting a garage near work that had
Oh, really?
chargers. Well, yeah, so when he was working in the seaport, he
Ah.
made sure that he was parking somewhere where he could charge. He wasn't going to the outdoor lot, he was paying a little more, but so that he could charge. So people do need that near their work.
Yes, interestingly, I think a number of businesses have figured this out, because my place of business actually has them, and they're free to employees.
Yeah,
So, it's just a perk,
yeah.
so.
All right,
All right. So
we
a
need to,
motion.
first we need to close the hearing, and then we can have a motion.
I move
Oh.
that the-
Oh, could I? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, no, please.
Yeah, Bob Zog, 923 North Road, Chair of the Energy Task Force. Just a couple comments related to this whole thing. Jonathan's obviously on top of all the details here. First of all, I want to thank Jonathan for all his work
Yes.
picking up on this thing. It's been, you folks know the 1.5 year history we've been through. The concern I have, and we all share, I don't have a complete answer to, is given all the delays we've had, what happens when we've already missed a huge opportunity here. And by the way, I completely support the board's decision regarding the overhead wires, given the information presented, that there was no assurance from Eversource that we even had a chance of completing this with any confidence, even by going overhead. I mean, that was the right decision. So I support that personally. I can't speak for the Energy Task Force. I support that personally. But it does beg the question, given the fact that Eversource was not particularly sensitive to that deadline, we have the May 31st deadline, and based on my understanding of our contract, this contract cannot be extended further. There was an option for a 1-year extension on the original contract. We used every bit of that. And even though it seems like, why, of course they can get complete by then, but who knows? So I don't have a solution to that, but if we get to a certain point, I think we really will have to collectively figure out the pressure points for Eversource, and it may be tough. They're a regulated behemoth, and that's what utilities are. But I'm convinced there has to be a way to share the pain a bit. And $10,000 is not a trivial amount of money for Carlisle, and just given everything that's happened, it'd be terrible if we had to absorb that because they didn't complete on time. And I don't know what leverage we could bring, but I just wanted to bring that concern up, and just let's monitor as we go. And I'd be willing to help poke around to see where we could try to get some pressure, either through the Department of Public Utilities, through Green Communities, through our elected representatives. So
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to say.
Certainly, 1st of March or so, we ought to know what their schedule is. It's done, and we start applying pressure. I think we better start applying pressure at that point.
Yeah. So I agree with Bob. This is one of my concerns, and I don't know what we do. I mean, like you said, $10,000 at what, $9,424.80 is what we're on the hook for. It's not a small amount of money. I don't know if we can, if we get this all set up and we lose that grant, does the Board of Selectmen have the ability to say, okay, let's go ahead and do it anyways and spend town money, or do we need to have something on the town warrant that, this is one of the things I wonder about, right? Because it may be that.
Slush fund?
No, the money could be found,
I
but
think we can find that.
Okay.
ideally we wouldn't need to.
So if it all completely falls apart, we could come back to you guys and say, do you guys want to continue or not?
That's correct.
Based on spending money.
Right.
Okay, that's good, because I was thinking if we have to put something on the warrant, then that just really messes everything up.
No, and it's too
So-
late to put it on the warrant at this point
Yeah.
anyway. That's the very frustrating thing with doing business in town government and getting anything done. It's amazing that we do get anything done sometimes.
It
But,
takes some time, but
It does.
then
but,
again, as we've discussed,
I
right?
think-
You get the right thing done, hopefully.
I mean, I can't speak for the entire board, but I think we could maybe give you some assurance that we'll give you some backstop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a hard stop when they do the paving, because I really don't want to rip the paving up.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point of doing this right now.
Right, exactly,
So,
right.
right,
Okay,
Lose
that's
that
all I had.
opportunity.
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
all right.
thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
wouldn't want to be Eversource the next time they come in for a permit if
No.
they mess this thing up.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. There you go. Well, it's really, nothing much we can do even. We can say we can apply pressure, but they are so huge and that thick skin is so thick
Yeah. I
that
don't care.
they can,
Yeah.
raise
But
up.
they're actually trying to improve their public.
They are, but we can't take our business elsewhere, so.
Well, we could always look into joining Concord. It would be very expensive, but we could
Yeah,
do
it
it.
would, yeah, and actually, we've actually kind of left them already when we aggregated.
Oh,
So we're not really with them anymore, except for they're the delivery company.
okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
You made the motion to close the hearing, but
Yes.
maybe you should make it again.
Yeah.
I move that the hearing on the underground Verizon Eversource cable be closed.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now I need a motion as to what we're going to
Right,
allow here.
and we need to have the piece in there about the bond or some kind of deposit.
Right, contingent on.
I would move that the trenching of an underground cable to the school parking lot for the purpose of a charging station be approved contingent upon Eversource providing a bond for adequate paving and coordination with the police department for any required detail.
Does that cover it?
I think that does, yeah, both contingencies.
Can I amend that motion? Could we set, rather than trench to the entrance, trench to the exit?
Okay?
Because
That's
that
right, it is
really
the exit, yeah.
kind of
Right, that's the
puts a.
out.
Amendment is accepted.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
All right. Thank you guys very much. I
Thank
appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. Well, we do realize what a heavy lift that whole committee is. And thank you for your,
All the time and
All
effort.
So-
We worked it in the end, but yeah, it's been a long haul.
So one of the interesting ones that they temporarily went through this week was, let's not do any trenching. Let's coordinate with Amoresco. And I'm like, oh my God.
no, let's
What-
not.
It was only 4 businesses. I can't handle 6 businesses getting involved, okay? And then I'm like, but the electrical equipment for that won't even be installed until late summer, and we have to be done.
Oh, we got to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Yeah, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.